Cheers, guys. Epics 911, welcome to VR Roundup episode 27. Had a VR podcast in the pipe, 5x5 yesterday. It was all ready to go, filmed, was in the process of doing the little bit of editing that it requires. And then I kind of second-guessed on it and ultimately ran out of time. There was a bit of a negative reception to the last VR podcast from some, so kind of left me wondering, what needed changing in there. And then ultimately, I just had to kind of can it. That will be back tomorrow. So what I'm going to do, because I still want to try to hit 3 a week, I'll have a podcast tomorrow, which is going to cover that same content. For example, the Teslasuit. I really want to kind of take that apart. We'll talk about it today, news-wise in summary, but we'll go a lot more in depth tomorrow. And then Thursday, we'll do another podcast episode before, of course, the VR Roundup Gaming Friday episode this Friday. So let's start things off with that Teslasuit. So it was a request I had from a viewer, or it would have completely passed me by. It was demoed, or at least partially demoed. I'll explain at CES 2018. So in summary, it is a full-body haptic suit. This thing is extremely form-fitting. I mean, extremely form-fitting. And if you've ever been asked if you know the Muffin Man...
Oh, do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man?
Well, let's just say with this on, you may run into him a little quicker than you think. Feature-wise, the suit includes a few features we have yet to see in action. So this was not on display. It was basically there just on a mannequin. A climate control system. Sounds great, but would love to hear some feedback on how the hot-cold sensations feel and how they are actually used in practice. There's motion capturing and dozens of haptic feedback system points. Now, I should mention that they use muscle stimulation, which can be a polite way of saying electroshock therapy, but really that's kind of what it is, albeit on a much smaller scale. Pulses of current that end up twitching muscle fibers. Anytime you start monkeying around with that, you got to be cautious. And I'm hoping they've done their due diligence. They do their homework. They don't plan on launching for another couple of years. That's part of what we're going to talk about tomorrow, because my concern with their device is you need to program for it specifically. It doesn't have the benefit like some haptic devices of getting triggered off audio cues, for example. No, you have to specifically program the haptics. Well, they're releasing in 2019. Does anyone know with confidence what the market is going to look like in 2019? Of course not. They don't. And yet, this is a device that developers are either going to have to be paid a fee to develop for, or there has to be a convincingly high attach rate to make developers feel it's worth their while. That paired up with the fact that we have no idea who the market leaders are going to be in 2019, how it's going to look, in short, have me concerned. We'll talk about that on the podcast tomorrow a little bit more, though. Next up, Ready at Dawn, the developers of Lone Echo, announcing that the Atlas patch that they've released is going to be the last patch that the game receives, as they want to focus on the Echo combat game afterwards. So the Atlas patch, it's going to bring the following. If you've got the beefy hardware, so they're speccing it as an Intel i7 7700K or above is the recommendation. That is going to enable the following 3 features. These are additional features. The first, enhanced set dressing. That's just going to increase the volume of prop items in certain set pieces. A tractor device, very Half-Life 2-ish by the sounds of it, a physics toy essentially. And then lastly, this one really kind of a cosmetic fun thing, not really game-changing, ragdoll jack husks. So normally you leave behind a static robotic body. Now, thanks to the physics engine, you can give those bodies the Skyrim treatment, i.e. manipulate them post-mortem, so to speak. The patch also brings voiceover and text localization for French, German, and Spanish. So unless you've got the hardware, doesn't sound like there's a hell of a lot in here, for the average gaming rig or below. Next, Sundance. That's the film festival. They're going to be kicking off January 18th, and that's going to run through to January 28th. And during Sundance, this has been the case for the last couple of years, there's been a virtual reality presence there. Well, this year, no exception. Arcade VR hardware maker Starbreeze are going to be showing off a new VR experience running on their hardware titled Hero, developed by INK or Ink Stories. That's the developer. It's going to be able to be experienced at Sundance via their high-end headset. That's the one with a 210-degree field of view and 5K resolution via dual 5.5-inch HD panels. I'm really curious, guys, how this is going to compare feedback-wise to the Pimax, for example. And there will be people who will, at that point, have tried them both. I'll be really interested in their feedback. Well, coverage by YouTubers like PewDiePie and Video Game Donkey has definitely assisted the fortunes of VR chat, which has now broken past 1 million installations, and it's had a peak of concurrent online users of just over 20,000. The app has an anything goes user-generated content system via which you can import your own self-made avatars along with custom animation macros. This, of course, having produced plenty of meme magic since its launch on Steam, all assisting to increase the profile of this application. There's speculation that, like previous updates, the upcoming Sony PlayStation 4 System software update will bring with it some virtual reality tweaks and additions. They've got to sign up for the beta that is now live, and then, as per usual, it's probably going to take them a few days to weeks before we discover what has all been included virtual reality-wise. Definitely got to admit, I'm curious to see what they've done to start off the new year. Most of us knew that when the Vive Pro was revealed at CES 2018, that in order to run it at the new 3K resolution would require a beast of a machine, and certainly that the recommended specifications would be increasing. Although HTC didn't acknowledge it at the time, they have come forward to acknowledge it now, saying it is a higher performance headset, so it will require a better machine. The people that we are currently marketing this product to, the most demanding consumers and enterprise customers, are not the type of people that have a minimum spec PC, and they're not the type of people that would feel uncomfortable upgrading to a higher end GPU if that is what's needed to get the type of experience that they want, which is a polite way of saying we're basically marketing this to the hardcore enthusiasts who don't care about a price tag. That's what it boils down to in a nutshell. Again, anyone seeing the specifications for this had to be aware that there were going to be an increase in recommended specs. HTC simply confirming that. And lastly, guys, let's end things off with some controller chat. Meet the Oculus Touch, I'm sure you're aware of it, and of course, the Vive Wand. For the most part, guys, there's things I like about both of these controllers. The longer profile of the Vive Wand certainly has created more precarious situations where I've hit walls, props in my room. Hell, I've even stabbed the floor in anger a few times during a game, just kind of getting carried away. And ultimately, even though I've struck less things with this because of its, more contoured to your hand profile, the Vive Wand definitely the least robust of the two. 3 times in particular, I've had to open it up to repair the rubber ring, which in one of those big smashing situations had kind of gone loose. Never happened with the Oculus Touch. Also, you want to talk battery life? There is absolutely no freaking comparison. Since I've had this Vive Wand, it's been requiring pretty much weekly charges. Now get this, and I put a lot of playtime into my Oculus as well. I've changed the batteries in a year and a half now? Twice. Oh, just over a year. Twice. And the first pair of batteries, to be fair, were already used batteries. They were from a TV remote control. This thing has obscene battery life. But to be fair and compare apples to apples, the Vive wands are interchangeable, right? They're ambidextrous in terms of left, right. It doesn't matter. With the touch, there's a clear left and there's a clear right. And to date, they've been selling in pairs. Well, Oculus finally making the touch available in single units. So you can purchase either a single left unit or a single right unit, $69 US. If you're in the Euro region, that's 69 euros. So the same exchange rate for both. Not sure on the Canadian dollar price or Australian, New Zealand, etc. So you're going to have to search via the link below that I have included. It should be quick to find out. But finally, available in single. Well, guys, that is it for the Tuesday edition. Like I said, we will be back for that Missing VR podcast tomorrow, and then there'll be another episode on Thursday. Guys, as always, cheers.